Hi, this is Chanel. Hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about devious behaviors of manipulators. Okay, so manipulative individuals, manipulative groups. I'm going to talk about some of the devious behaviors that I have experienced and noticed from manipulative people. Okay, and furthermore, I want to talk about manipulative people that are closest to you. Okay, I did a video, and at the beginning of the year I deleted all of my previous videos that were that I made between 22 and 25. Okay, I deleted every last one of them, and I thought that I saved them. And I did not. I saved some of them, and I decided to, even though I deleted everything, I decided to repost quite a few. Okay, because I think it's just important to, a lot of the information that I'm giving is important, and people need to be aware of manipulative behavior. Okay, so people closest to you. Okay, so devious behaviors that I have noticed from people close to me. Okay, these are some of the things that I'm gonna discuss. Okay, and like I said, I my goal was to make this an inspirational channel. However, knowledge is very important. Okay, and so I just want to get these points out here and hopefully help other people. Okay, if I can just help one person not experience some of the things that I have experienced, that I've had to that maybe I wouldn't have experienced had I, and not that I didn't know. Okay, but anyway, I just want to help. Okay, and like I said, just make people aware. All right, so I'm going to talk about devious behaviors from strangers, neighbors, work, romantic relationships, and also family members. Okay, so I'll start with family members. One thing that I have noticed, and I said devious behaviors, but it's more so, and I say it's devious because as adults, more than likely, if you're watching this video, you are an adult. Okay, and I'm talking about adults. I'm not talking about children. I'm talking about adults. Okay, these behaviors that I have seen, and these behaviors that I want you to be aware of, coming from adults. Obviously, adults know what they're doing. Okay, where if you're grown, and as long as everything is working properly upstairs, you know what you're doing. Okay, and when you know that you're being devious or underhanded or sneaky or manipulative, there is a reason for it. Okay, and I also want to say this. One reason that I thought it was important to, like I said, I wrote a book about manipulative behavior, and obviously I have this channel, and I have talked about manipulative behavior on a few of the videos. Okay, and I've always been a person who paid attention. Normally I don't say things because I know that people are people, and so I would give people benefit of the doubt initially, and when I would see a continuation of certain behaviors, I would think, I would notice it. Okay, however, I didn't know reasons why, or the reasons behind some of the words and actions that were being put out there. I noticed them, but I didn't know the reasons behind them. And on more than one occasion, I have had people come to me after the fact and apologize for their behavior. Or there have been times when I would just see things after, something would happen, and I would understand more so why they were doing what they were doing or saying what they were saying. Okay. And so, like I said, people do things for a reason. Sometimes I would say myself, I would excuse a lot of behaviors, and I think that people also confuse giving grace with being naive or being stupid. Okay. And so because I gave a lot of grace, maybe they thought that I just didn't notice it. And with certain people, I would ask a lot of questions. However, I think, people do things for a reason. Number one. Number two, I've noticed that people don't act the same way with everything. So, for instance, if a person is being manipulative or sneaky or underhanded with you, pay attention to the way they're doing other people. Are they that way with everyone, or are they only that way with you? Okay, and if they're only that way with you, from what you can see, why are they that way with you? Okay, people pick and choose. Because, and first, I'm going to say this: manipulative behavior, devious behaviors are extremely disrespectful. Okay, and so if a person shows you that they do not respect you, and you don't enforce respect, they will continue. Not only will they continue to disrespect you, a lot of times it will get worse. Okay, and I'll say for myself, I have in the past allowed things to go, and it just depending on the person. Sometimes I would cut things off real quick. As soon as I saw the slightest thing, I cut it off and block, and I'm done. Okay, act like you don't even exist anymore. Okay. However, there have been times when I would continue, okay, to interact with people, even though I saw the behavior, and I would do it for different reasons. But I would continue to interact with people. And one thing that, like I said, some people will push and the words or the actions or whatever it is they're doing will get worse, basically. Okay, and so if they think that you're just a pushover, all right, there's no telling where that line is. Obviously, there's already a lack of respect. Okay, and so as far as knowing where their line is, I'll just say this: it's better to draw that line early on. Okay, because I have gotten to the point in the past where if I have to draw the line, you probably don't want that. Okay, and so, but anyway, I just want to give you some of the things that I've noticed. Okay, things that I have noticed and experienced. Okay, so, and I've talked about this in other videos. So some of these, if you've listened to my videos, you've heard them before. But I think you'll also hear some things that you may not have heard. Okay. So, secrecy. Okay. And this goes across the board, whether it's, anyway, secrecy is one. Okay. So secrecy, hiding information, that is something that you will definitely experience from, a person who is trying to manipulate you. Okay. Not giving clarity. So you ask a question and they give a response, or they may not respond at all, or they'll, respond in a way that is extremely disrespectful. They may get very loud with you, or try to, just smother your voice. Okay. Those are all tactics that that people use. Like I said, one just being secretive and not, withholding information. Another is, like I said, just tactics to not give clarity if you ask a question. Okay. Gaslighting is another. Okay. Lying. Okay. Manipulative people, from what I have experienced, lie a lot. Okay, and pay attention to the small lies. Okay, I've always noticed small lies initially. And if a person is willing to tell, and I say this about just about everything, you never know where a person's line is. So pay attention to the small things, because you never know how far a person is willing to go with something. Okay, if they're willing to do it, you don't know how far they're willing to take it. Okay, so pay attention to the small things. Okay, so lying or dishonesty. Okay, word spells. This is something that I learned about, or I never heard that term until probably, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, just watching YouTube about certain things. And there's power in words. I believe that the video that I looked at was just talking about the power in words. Okay, in words, we either bless one another or we can curse one another with our words. Okay, pay attention to people who are cursing you with their mouth. Okay, whether they are calling you out of your name, or telling you that you'll never do X, Y, and Z, or if they're belittling you, or there's a lot of ways that people can try to spew curses your way. Okay, so pay attention to that. All right. And I'm looking at my board. That's why I'm looking to the side. I wrote some things down. Multifaceted. Okay, people who are two-faced, basically. Okay, and so they act one way to your face, and then behind your back they act another way. And one thing that I pay attention to is, or one way that I would put it, okay, is like the listen to the listen to this, pay attention to the simple things. Okay, and so there have been times when I've been in rooms where there's like this where a person is agreeing and then maybe they'll go to somebody else and it's okay, and so about the same topic. Okay, and so pay attention to people who are two-faced. Okay, again, and I'm not talking about when I say when I'm describing the two it's to your face and behind your back. Okay, and so that's what I'm referring to. All right, so just basically just being two-faced. Okay, a refusal to talk to you but talks about you. Okay, I'm gonna give a story. So recently I initiated a conversation with a very close family member. Okay, and years ago this family member told me that they thought that I'm not going to go into detail, but they thought that I had done something about 30 years ago. Okay, but they did not say anything. Now they claim they said something to me, but this particular subject matter is definitely a conversation that I more than likely would have remembered having. Okay. It wasn't a small matter. Okay, and so they did not bring it up until let's say 10 years ago. A close very close family member says, "Well, I thought you did X, Y, and Z when you were a teenager." And I said, "No, I didn't." And the conversation ends there. Okay. Here it is 10 years later. And let's say this particular family member does not like to have meaningful conversations or honest conversations with you. Now they'll have them about you. They will talk behind your back. Okay, but they avoid having honest conversations with you. Okay, so but anyway, back to the story. The person says, okay, well, or I say 10 years after the quick conversation, I say, okay, well, I remember you telling me this. We didn't discuss it. Who told you that? What difference does it make? Okay, so and it's like, okay, well, the subject matter or the topic is a topic that definitely matters, okay? And I'm the main character in this story. And so I would think that so I just want to know, who told you that? Well, I don't even remember. I don't know. And I'm okay. Well, I know that it was a person in this circle. Okay. Well, you remember that the person was in this circle group or friend group, but all of a sudden you don't know who told you this. And I say, okay, well, if it was me, if I were in your shoes, and if I had a family member this close, and somebody would have, and I'll give you a backstory. So, a person in their friend group told them a lie, told this close family member, but basically a lie about me, and this very close family member did not say anything to me about it. Okay, if they did, I don't remember it at all, but I don't think they did. Because that's something I would have remembered. Okay, and so they didn't say anything. And so if I say, okay, well, who, again, the question was, okay, well, who told you? I don't remember, and what difference does it make? And let's just close the conversation, because and so it's like, okay, well, now if I were in your shoes again. If I were in your shoes and a friend told me that this very close family member had done something, the first person, especially, again, if I were in your shoes and if I were, if I were you, okay, I would have definitely gone. If I were you, I would have come to me and said, okay, well, I was told X, Y, and Z, this is definitely a conversation that needed to be had. Okay. And so I wouldn't, I wouldn't be trying to cover for who told me. Okay. I would, definitely want to have the conversation. But this person, this family member, they're more so concerned about just shutting the whole conversation down. I'm not telling you who told me and what difference does it make, and just stop talking about it. Okay. And so, again, if a person is more comfortable talking about you than to you, okay, then that should show you where you stand with them. Okay. That shows you how they view you. All right. If they would rather talk behind your back than to your face, and if you come to them and say, okay, can we discuss this, and they want to shut it down and do everything except have a conversation, that shows you where you stand with them, which and a lot of times you'll already know anyway. Okay, if a person, 9 times out of 10, if a person lacks I'll put it this way, you will know when you're someone's preference or not. Okay, that usually shouldn't be questionable. Now people can come around and do certain things and act. I'll say this: people can put on an act, but they can't put on an act long. That breaks. Okay, and so but anyway, like I said, just pay attention to people who would prefer to talk behind your back rather than to your face. Okay. So next, romantic relationships. Okay. Excuse me. Again, lying, and lying is gonna be pretty anyway across the board. Just dishonesty is common and very frequent. And when you're dealing with the manipulator, okay, or a person who is attempting to be devious, okay. So lying, cheating, you can't 9 times out of 10, you can't cheat without lying. Those two normally go hand in hand. Okay. Communication. And that again can go across the board. People who don't want to communicate effectively, there's a reason for that. There is a reason why people do not want to communicate honestly with you. Okay. Or when a person is being manipulative, not, a lot of times they will not want to communicate honestly. Okay. Again, in romantic relationships, I'm going to talk about co-parenting. Okay. And so whether you're divorced, or let's say that, two parents are not in the same household, once you bring a child into this world, obviously it takes two people to bring a child into the world, right? When two people bring a child into the world, the goal for both people, whether they are, hopefully the goal is to raise a child together. If not, if it can't, if it doesn't work out that way, the least you can do as a parent is to help cover, excuse me, to help make sure that child is covered together. Okay. Like I said, whether you're in the same household or not, you should want to make sure that your child is covered, protected, taken care of. That should be the goal. Okay. A manipulator, however, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I have experienced. Okay. With manipulative behavior. One is just not, deciding just to not do their part. I'm not going to do it. Basically, not gonna provide X, Y, and Z. If you get it, you're gonna have to go to the courts and ask him, because I'm not gonna help you do anything. Okay. Now a lot of times with that, sometimes they'll say what sounds good in order to keep things from going that route. Okay, so they may say, "Oh yeah, well I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna do this." And a person who is willing to do what they need to do and wants to do what they, and wants to do what they're supposed to do, not need, but supposed to do. You don't even have to have this conversation, right? Okay. A child is here. You're a parent. Child needs, if you are a grown man or woman and you need, obviously the child needs as well. Right. And so, but anyway, like I said, a parent just deciding, I'm not gonna do it, not gonna be there, figure it out, okay, without me, okay, but maybe saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and just giving excuses, okay. Also, parents who lie to children, okay, there are parents who lie to their children. And again, whether it be, I'm going to be there, I'll, to pick you up, I'm going to, X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna, and they're not, and they don't. That is manipulative behavior. And the horrible thing is, again, lying to children. Okay, lying to an adult is one thing, but when you tell lies to a child, that is the worst thing that you can do, especially as a parent. Okay. Also, using children as armor. Okay, there are adults who want to cover themselves. Okay, there are some adults who are very selfish, parents who are very selfish, and they would rather put their children in harm's way, be it emotionally or physically or whatever the case may be. They would rather do what feels good to them, and whether it's I don't want to be a parent, I'm doing my thing and I'm out dating, I'm spending my time with someone else, or I'm spending my time with these kids over here, this child over here, or whatever the case may. Or let's see, what's another thing? Using kids as armor. there are parents who create division. Okay, so let's say there's a mom who is, the father says, okay, I'm not going to be here, I don't want to be there, and mom says, okay, that's fine, I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure the kids are taken care of. They may go to they may have to go to the courts in order to get financial support, but outside of that, if you don't want to show up, don't show up. I don't care what happens, I'll take care of it. Do your thing. Okay. But there are also parents who, what was I saying? There are parents who create division. Okay, so they're already not there. Okay, but they and the mom is the one taking, the mom is the one covering. It could be the mom or the dad. So one parent is covering the children. However, the parent who is not there tries to create a division between the mom and children. Okay, and is being dishonest about certain things and is creating more chaos than anything. Now, if one parent already has it covered, okay, and another and someone else is running interference, this parent can't make sure these children are properly covered if somebody else is running interference, but they're not doing it in a number one, a way that both parents are communicating, and again, they're being chaotic. Okay, they're bringing more chaos and confusion and lies into the situation rather than co-parenting as they should. Like I said, be it you're in the same house or not, just be able to communicate, co-parent, and make sure that these children are taken care of. Okay, rather than creating again chaos. Parents saying, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to your mom, so I'm just going to talk to you, and I just pass a message to your mom. I'm not just being silly. Okay, there are sadly a lot of silly adults. Okay, and children deserve better than that. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to work. So some of the things that I have experienced at work, okay, where there were devious behaviors or manipulative behaviors. One was, and I saw it as being manipulative and devious, because I don't understand any other reason why a person would have said this. So, there was a point where a supervisor wrote me up, okay, and in the write-up she said that I was not, or that I told her that I did not know what this particular app was. Okay, and it's called OneDrive. Okay, and so I believe OneDrive is something that whatever is downloaded on the computer, whatever you do on the computer, is going to be saved automatically to OneDrive. Now, I had my own folders created. I had things the way I wanted. I did not put anything in OneDrive. I didn't use it, but it was there. Okay, and I know that things were there, but I didn't use it. I had my own folders that I would use. And so I was talking to this particular supervisor about files that were being duplicated multiple times, and just different things that I was having problems with. And she said, well, was it saved? She asked me if it was saved to OneDrive. And I said, I don't use OneDrive. I said, I know it's, I don't know. I'm assuming it is, but I don't know. Now, I don't know. I can't say yes or no because I don't use it. I didn't look at it, so I can't say for sure, yes, it's there. When I don't use it, I don't even open it up. Now, I'm assuming so, because I know how it works, but I can't say, and indefinitely, or in a concrete manner, that yes, it is. I know where it should. I know where I keep this particular file, so I know where it should be in the files that I created. But as far as a file that I don't use, or a drive that I don't use, I can't say for sure whether or not it's in there. Okay, so that's basically my response. I don't know. I don't know whether it's there or not, because I don't use that. Okay, now when this person wrote me up, she stated that I told her that I did not know what OneDrive was. That wasn't what I said. Okay. She also said that, I'm not going to get into it. So, but basically people who tell, I'm not sure whether she was confused or if she was just flat out telling lies. Okay. I thought they were lies, because I don't understand how someone could be that confused. Okay. But supervisors who tell lies. Okay. Now, the problem with supervision who tell lies, obviously, if they're writing you up and these things are going into your personnel file, when someone else comes along to go through your personnel file later, and a supervisor has typed up this thing and put your name on it, and put it in your file, more than likely, if the person that goes in and views your file is going to believe what's there. Okay. Because a supervisor wrote it, and if the supervisor wrote it, it must be correct, right? And so that was one. Okay. Another example I could give of devious behavior. Okay. I remember, working in this office, and I've had back problems since I was a child. Excuse me. I've always had back problems. Okay. I'm hip heavy. Okay. I've been in a couple of car wrecks and never been to the chiropractor, and so I've had but anyway, I've had back problems, and I had I had a back massager on the back of my chair at work in this office. And I get to work one day and notice that someone has cut the cord in half. Okay, so when I left work the day before, the cord to the massager was plugged up under my desk. I get back to work the next day, and half the cord is attached to the chair or to the massager, and the other half of the cord is plugged in to the socket. Okay, we've got two separate cords now. Okay, so they destroyed my back massager. Okay. Another thing that I can remember, and again, just the whole point of this is just knowing what type of mindset people have. It is very important to pay attention to people's mindsets. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more examples, and I'm going to move on. So, press-on toenails. Okay, I wear at times press-on toenails. Okay, and one day I was same office. I'm working, and I moved from this one area to a completely different floor. Okay, I was in this area, and then they moved my team to a different floor, and so I'm somewhere completely different. Evidently, one of my press-on toenails was under it was dark back. I used to keep my area dark. Okay, I'd had a little lamp. I just had, I would have my music going. I was just, very chill. Okay, atmosphere. So, but anyway, under my desk one day, one of my toenails popped off. They used to pop off all the time, still do. And so one of my toenails obviously popped off and was still under the desk when I left. Okay, so I've moved on to a different floor, and I come to work one day, and there's somebody put my toenail on my desk as if that was necessary. And I don't know whether they thought I was going to be embarrassed by it or what, but somebody put my little press-on toenail on the desk. Okay. So like I said again, that's just anyway, just silly. All right. Another thing. So I was, am a single mom of boys, and one day someone put a magazine on my desk that said on the front cover, it said, women can't raise boys. Okay? Women or women, single women can't raise boys. And I want to say this. And I've heard men, I've heard this conversation happen. And I've had these conversations before with men. And the way that it was designed, obviously, is for, like I just said a few minutes ago, two people create a child. Both people should be there. Both parents should be there to help raise a child. Obviously, boys do need a healthy-minded man, and a man who makes smart decisions in the home. Okay. However, unfortunately, that is not always the case. And so, in those cases, do you say, oh, okay, well, as a mother, would you say, oh, okay, well, he needs he needs a man in his life. So, no matter what's going on, he just needs to see a man, or there just needs to be a man here. That has never been my outlook on that. Okay. And so I'm single. Okay. And I raise sons. Now, I'm going to say this. As a woman, if we can carry a child, right? So a woman can carry a child. We have the ability. We're the only ones with the ability who can carry a little boy, who can carry a baby boy. Okay. Once a man becomes, an adult and is ready, a woman or a man gets married to a woman, right? So we are here to be a man's helpmate. Okay, so if we can carry a child, and once you become an adult, we are here to help you, right, with whatever it is you're doing. Why can we not raise them in between those two? I can carry you while you're, when you're in the womb. Once you become a man, we can marry you, but I can't raise you. I can't show you. I can't properly raise a boy, but I can't properly raise you because I'm not a man. That's stupid. Okay, and so, and again, it takes two parents. Ideally, both a mother and father should be there. Definitely, a boy does definitely need to see a healthy man. While he's growing up. However, for people to say, well, you just can't do it. Okay, you're not a man, so you can't show a man how to be healthy. There are a lot of grown men out here who are not healthy at all. Okay, there are men out here doing it wrong. Okay, you're manning wrong. Okay, somebody taught you wrong, and so just because you're a man doesn't mean you're doing it right. Okay, and so for someone to say, you can't do this because you're not a man, you can't raise him because you're not a man. There are great men out here. I've seen great men. There are a lot of great men out here, but it's not to disqualify. But you can't just disqualify a woman and say, well, you're a woman, so you can't. Okay. So that's my thought on that. Neighbors. Some of the things that I have, devious behaviors that I have, that I've experienced with neighbors are destruction of property. I've talked about this, and I think I deleted some of the videos, but destruction of property. I've had neighbors climb over my fence. I came home or got up one morning and went to the backyard, and I never do this, but I went to the backyard and there was a chair that my neighbors have that was right up against the fence. Okay. And so destructive neighbors, okay, is one. I've had neighbors who would continuously, and at one point it seemed like it was a game because of the way it was being done. Okay, I live on a narrow street, and anyway, there was a period when one car would be in front of the house, and as soon as this car pulled up, another car would pull up right behind it. And this went on for a long time. Okay, the car would park there, and they would have space in their own driveway, or just could have parked in front of their own house. But like I said, it just seemed like it was a game. As soon as one car would leave, a different car would pull up and park right there. Okay, and it would stay there for a while. And the problem was, they would block my mailbox. Okay, I had another set of neighbors, one who would blow their leaves over. Okay, and so being a lady and being surrounded by, now there are great men. There are men who are protective. There are men who will watch out for, people. And then there are other, I'll say this, there are men who are protectors and there are men who are predators. There are women who are protectors and predators as well. So you can't just, I never just try to seclude. But as a lady, and being one of the only ones over here who does not have a husband, I notice certain things. I notice how men treat. I notice either the respect or lack thereof when it comes to men, or from men. I'll put it that way. Okay, like I said, some people can respect everybody. Other people, respect is, in their minds, respect is they don't have that same concept. Okay, they don't respect everybody across the board. Okay, and I wrote a book that talked about people who do what they can get away with, manipulative behavior. Okay, and a manipulator does what they can get away with. Okay, and I have definitely seen that, and that's just a few things that I've dealt with. I have had one day I came home, or after one weekend of being away, came home and the water had been running for days. I'd gone out of town. I didn't go to the backyard. I came home on a Sunday, and I think I went to the backyard on that maybe Monday or Tuesday. My backyard was flooded. Okay, water had been running for 4 days. Okay, my water bill was obviously sky high. All right, I had or have ponds, and someone cut one of my ponds. It drained, and it took me a while to figure out. I was like, okay, now it's been the material on it is very heavy. Okay, it's not something that you can nick and poke. Okay, and so after a little while, I went out there one day and decided to find out where that where the incision was, and it was someone had clearly cut it. Okay, someone had clearly cut it. There was a large fish that was outside of the pond. I know it didn't jump out. Okay, so but anyway, just a lot of, and then there was I'm not gonna keep going, but devious neighbors are problematic. Okay, so like I said, I put these things out here because I just want you to pay attention to certain behaviors. Okay, and the behaviors are, again, lying, being sneaky. Anytime anybody has to be sneaky, okay, if they have to wait until you're not there, or if they're hiding information altogether, they don't want to reveal the whatever the truth is. I said secrecy. Basically just hiding information. All right. And doing things behind your back that they wouldn't obviously tell you they're doing. All right. That's the whole point of being manipulated. Manipulators want to control. All right, I'm gonna say another thing. One thing that I have noticed within manipulative, especially when it's a group, be it a group or not, one thing that I've noticed on several occasions is, or has been, people who, they'll be quick to try to label. If you point out their behavior, initially they're either gonna deny it, they're gonna try to avoid the conversation altogether, they'll get loud with you and belligerent with you, or they'll gaslight you. Okay, they'll say you're crazy. You're crazy, and you just think. And they love to tell you what you think. They love to tell you what you think, and they love to tell other people what you think and how you feel. Okay, that's another thing. Okay, if a person is trying to tell you what you think and how you feel, okay, they're being manipulative. If you're grown, you don't need anybody telling you what you think. You know what you think. You know what's going on in your brain. Okay, you don't need anybody to tell you what you're thinking. And you don't need anybody to tell other people what you're thinking, because a manipulative person will definitely do that as well. Okay, so they love to tell you how you feel and what you're thinking and all the things. And they love to tell other people what they're thinking and how they feel. And they want to hold the mic. They want to be in control of the story. They want to be in control of the narrative. Okay. And everything that I just mentioned are examples of ways in which people can try to be in control of a narrative. Okay, also pay attention to how people try to make you feel. All right, and look, pay attention to the way that people want you to look. Because another thing with manipulative people is, again, control is a huge factor, and people can want, let's say the situation where I was talking about the supervisor at work who wrote something, who wrote that I said I didn't know what this particular drive was when I didn't say that. Okay, so that can make you look incompetent, or that made me look incompetent. Okay, I knew exactly what the drive was. Okay, so I didn't say I didn't know what the drive was. I knew exactly what it was. However, if someone comes behind her and reads what she has said in this report, it can make me look, or it will make me look like I'm incompetent. Oh, well, she doesn't know what that is. No, I do know what it is. Okay. Romantic relationships, people calling you crazy. Okay, so let's say, for instance, cheating. There have been times there was a time when I caught, after a lot, finally, caught someone in the middle of lying and cheating. Okay, and the first thing that came out of his mouth, oh, she's crazy. She's crazy. Don't listen to her. She's crazy. Okay, I'm crazy, but now I've been asking you about a lot of different things, okay, for years, and you have lied. You have obviously been cheating, and I'm the crazy one. Okay, so they will call you crazy. Manipulative people love to label. I'm also going to say this: school. I have had to deal with manipulation at a school. Okay, one of my son's schools. He was, long story short, I asked if he could be moved to a different class. Teacher said no, and teacher didn't say no. Principal said, yeah, we can move him to a class. I said, okay. And I said, okay, well, can I see the class first before I agreed to him being in this class? She said, no, well, there's a substitute in here, and all the things. I mean, and all I did was ask to see I just need to peek in for 2 seconds so I could say yes or no. Okay, or give me more. I want to know what I'm putting them into, because I already know in schools at this grade level, 9 times out of 10, there's either one extreme or the other. And you may not have the type of resource that I'm asking for. So can you show me that you are putting him in the type of classroom that I am explaining to you? No, I can't show you, and da 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 da. So at first I said, well, I'm not going to agree to it until I can see it. Well, I'm not going to be able to show you until 3 and so finally I broke down and I said, okay, well, I'll go ahead and agree to putting him in the class. Put him in the class, and that was not a class that he should have been in at all. Okay, and so lying again, people are people. Okay, so this is what I want you to understand, and the reason that I have brought up situations with in multiple areas, okay, be it family, romantic relationships, work, neighbor, whatever, school. People are people. Okay, titles don't mean anything. Okay, and so it is important to know that, and I'm also going to say this. First, let me go back to the story. So she ends up putting him in this classroom, which classified him under an umbrella that he shouldn't have been in. He shouldn't have been, and so, it just caused a lot of problems. And then his teacher, and he had always been in general ed, okay? His teacher said, oh, well, he won't be able to go to college anyway. He won't be able to navigate a college campus. My son was in 4th grade, okay? So she's telling me that when he's what, 9 or 10? So she's telling me in 8 years, he's not going to be able to navigate college campus. So, so she's, again, manipulative people always love they love to have, they know everything. Let them tell it. They know everything. They know what you can do, what you can't do. They know all the things. Okay, they know what you're thinking. They will tell everybody what you're thinking and everything else. So anyway, so she's telling me that in 10 years he's not going to be able to even navigate a college campus. Okay, and my son was currently in the 4th grade. He had been in the summer prior to that. So this was probably in winter or spring of his 4th grade year. Prior to his 4th grade year. So after his 3rd grade year, and I think he did it twice. I know for sure the year prior. One of our local colleges has or county colleges has college for kids in the summer. So every summer they allow kids from elementary through high school to take classes. They become an actual student so they even though they're children, and he was in elementary, he was, he had just completed 3rd grade. I had him in college for kids, and so they treat them just like a college student. Okay, and so they give them, they have to go register at the school, at the college, go to orientation, everything just like a college kid. Okay, I got his schedule. The Sunday, his first day was on a Monday of school. Okay, Monday through Friday he went to college that summer. Okay, for maybe a month, 2 weeks, I don't know. So, but anyway, he, so the Sunday before his first day of college, I took him to the college. I had his schedule printed out, and I walked him around campus, and I said, okay, the first class, this is where you're going to be dropped off at. From here, you need to go to this class. From this class, you need to go to this class, and upstairs, and then you need to go to this building over here. Every one of his classes, we were on a college campus. Every one of his classes was in a different building. Okay, he was not walked around. They didn't go, with the group. They were just like college kids, where they independently went from one building to the next. They had to find their own classes. I took him, I again told him, okay, this is where you're going to be dropped off at. You're going to go to this class first, go to this building first, go to this room. Next, you're going to go to this building, go to this room. Next, you're going to come back to this, went through the whole schedule with him. We did that twice, and then I said, okay, I want you to show me this time. Let's go back to point A. You're going to be dropped off here. Now I want you to show me from, where you're going to go. I did that one day. Okay. He successfully did that. And he went to college, okay, before his 4th grade year. Yet, here his teacher is telling me and everybody else in the little committee that he's not going to be able to do this in 10 years. He's already done it, ma'am. Okay? And so, again, when people are manipulative, and I want to say, and when people let's talk about titles, okay? Especially when you have a title as a parent, title as a spouse, title of teacher or staff member, title of supervisor, okay, title of neighbor. If someone from the outside were to come in and talk to any of those 5 people and start asking questions, 9 times out of 10, that outside person would probably believe what these people are saying. You understand? However, just because these people have these titles does not mean they're being honest. Does not mean that they know. Okay, just like I was talking about the situation where the close family member was told by someone else that I had did this certain thing. Okay, now the family member's thinking I've done this thing that I did not do. Now and then didn't even want to have the conversation with me years after bringing it up. Okay, and so but between when it happened and 30 years later, had someone else come to them and attempted to have that conversation, I'm pretty sure they would have, because they had it with the group. The family member had the conversation with the group, but never had the conversation with me. And so if an outsider were to say, hey, so tell me about this very close family member of yours, and they would have had this, they would have been completely fine with having this conversation and accusing me of things that I did not do. Okay. And so again, it's just very important to know where you stand with people. Because not knowing where you stand with people, no matter what their title is, no matter how close you think you are or how close you think you should be, it's very important to know where you stand with people. Okay, and pay attention to the little things. Pay attention to the lying. Pay attention to people avoiding conversations. Pay attention to people, accusing you of things that you didn't do. All right. Pay attention to people trying to cause division. All right. There are so many, like I said, everything that I just mentioned, just pay attention to those things. Okay. So I gotta hurry up and get off of here. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Feel free to write any comments and like. Thank you for watching. Bye.